The year was 2011. Kaizoku Sentai Gokaiger had just begun, and with it, the Super Sentai series was about to dive into Bandai's hit new action figure series, S.H. FIguarts. Starting in 2008, originally exclusively for the Kamen Rider franchise, this figure line has since grown to cover all the biggest properties in tokusatsu, such as Ultraman and Metal Heroes, to even worldwide popular series such as Marvel and Star Wars. One of the first expansions to this line was to the Super Sentai series, a logical choice as the series is often seen as related to Kamen Rider in many ways. Over the last decade, since the Sentai section of this figure line started, only a small handful of the potential possibilities were ever released, with many being shown off at shows for intended release, only to inevitably fall into the classic black hole that a lot of S.H. FIguarts do for Kamen Rider, never to be heard from again. After 2015, Sentai FIguarts seemed to stop completely, as no figures were announced for 6 years, until just this past week at Tamashii Nations 2021, when Zenkaiser, the leader of the current Kikai Sentai Zenkaiger series, was confirmed to be getting his own section of FIguarts a second chance. Today, let's look back at a history of every released Sentai FIguart, the Power Rangers versions released in America and exclusives released over here as well, and of course, the ones that never came to be. This is every Super Sentai FIguart ever. Kicking off this entire subline was the members of Samurai Sentai Shinkenger. Shinken Red and Shinken Gold would come out first in February and March of 2011, perfect timing with Power Rangers Samurai launching in the US at the same time. FIguarts were always known for their level of detail and number of accessories, and these were no different. Both of them were going as far as to have the smaller versions of their origami that they could even hold, with limited articulation in them as well. The plus side of any line of figures for Super Sentai or Power Rangers is that once you do one mold, it is quite easy to do the rest of the team, with a simple repaint and slight remolds. This happened right away, with Shinken Blue and Green coming out in June as the first Tamashii Web exclusive releases. These type of releases, exclusive only to online, and being a big pain to import over due to their high costs, were very common for Kamen Rider, and it took Sentai no time as well to start this. Oftentimes, the female members of Sentai teams would be pushed to this type of harder to track down release, as seen with Princess Shinken Red in August of 2011, and Shinken Yellow and Pink to round out the whole team in September. This was a super quick turnaround time for release, and if Bandai had stuck to that for the whole duration of Sentai FIguarts, a lot more teams could have been completed. By September, they were already starting their next team, with Kaizoku Sentai Gokaiger's Gokai Red as a retail release. The Gokaigers, historically, are one of the most popular groups of FIguarts released for Sentai to this day. Blue and Green would follow in October and November as general releases that each saw a Gokai Darin piece released alongside them, as bonuses to be able to recreate the cockpit design of Gokai-O for a special display. The females of the team would of course see releases as exclusives, with Gokai Yellow in December and Gokai Pink in January of 2012, but their Darins were included with them, raising the prices. January of 2012 also saw the retail release of Gokai Silver, but he never got his version of a Gokai Darin released. In April of 2012, a figure was released for Super Shinken Red as a general release, being the first power-up to get that treatment, but it also opened the door for the potential of the other jacketed forms of Shinken Red with a simple repaint. April also saw a random one-off release from Tenso Sentai Goseiger. Gosei Knight was the one picked for this one as a Tamashii Web exclusive. Being one of my personal favorite Sentai suit designs, this is one I would love to track down someday, but no other Goseiger figures were ever released in the FIguart line. June 2012 had it all. The first villain released with Juzo Fuwa from Shinkenger, or Decker for you Power Rangers Samurai fans out there, getting a release for Tamashii Web. This was the first villain for the line, and it turned out amazingly. Definitely a step up from his only other figure at the time, a 4-inch Bandai America figure, and a Squeaky. Akiba Ranger was a big focus for FIguarts, with most of the Red Rangers released being focused around those that appeared on the show, and for that reason, their figures would come with the team weapons for the Akiba Rangers. First up in this line, of course, was Akiba Red, released alongside Deca Red, which included the special Deca Ranger themed handcuffs used by the Akiba Rangers as a weapon. In July of 2012, Akiba Blue is released at the retail level, with that month's Tamashii Web exclusive going to Hyper Shinken Red, the first repaint of the Super Shinken Red design. Akiba Yellow and Red Hawk from Jetman released in August, kicking off yet another team and completing the core team of Akiba Rangers. September was when we got Boken Red and Red Buster, kicking off 2 new teams into the line. While the Red Rangers were the main focus of the team appearances in Akiba Ranger, this did not stop FIguarts from diving into more of the teams they had started, though often this was with Tamashii Web exclusives, such as Deca Blue and Black Condor, both released in October of 2012. Also joining the Tamashii Web Club that month was Cheetah Nick from Go Busters, kicking off the trio of Buddyroid releases. The most expensive release in the entire Sentai FIguarts line in its original run came out in November 2012, with the Atasha Robo from Akiba Ranger. The only transformable version of that team's mech, it had the ability to turn into the car seen in the series, but at a very high price point. This was an expensive month in general, as the only other release was another Tamashii Web release, this time being Yellow Buster with Usada Lettuce, and if that wasn't enough for you, Tamashii Web will be back in December with Deca Green to finish off the core males on the Deca Ranger team. The next villain release would also come from Tamashii Web that month, as a 2-pack of Bosco and Sally from Gokaiger, though he was translated as being called Vasco on the box. Sally would also technically be the first Sentai FIguarts Zero release, a special line of more statue-like figures that had great levels of detail but lacked articulation. Right off the bat for 2013 was Blue Buster and Gorisaki Banana finishing off the trio of Go Busters and their Buddyroid partners. Surely people thought Beat and Stag Buster would be around the corner, but those never ended up happening. It took years for Japanese fans and American fans who collected FIguarts to get the chance to finish their teams, as the Lightning Collection Beast Morphers Gold or the basic Hasbro figures of Gold and Silver were the first options that they had to fill the gaps on Go Busters. But hey, at least Akiba Ranger kept going, as the first Army Builder release came with the Dorwins, the basic foot soldiers seen in the series. Though to build a squad of them, it would cost a lot, as they were also Tamashii Web exclusives in April. Speaking of which, here are 2 more exclusives, with Deca Yellow and Pink in May. In June of 2012, Super Akiba Red got released as they transitioned into the Season 2 suits, and Sentai cameos from Akiba Ranger continued with it as they brought Dragon Ranger from Kyoryu Sentai Zyuranger into the line. Obviously the famous Mighty Morphin Green Ranger, Tommy Oliver himself, it became one of the most popular FIguarts done for Sentai. But of course, June would not finish without a Tamashii Web release, and this time it came in the form of Waltz Gills, one of the main antagonists from Gokaiger. July was mainly more of the Akiba Ranger Season 2 figures, with the new appearances of Akiba Blue and Yellow being released, as their helmets had changed hair design with the new season. Releasing alongside them was Delu Knight, a villain that was primarily seen during the first season. He was released as a Tamashii Web exclusive. Tyranno Ranger also came out this month, completing the duo of the Powerful Rangers, as the Japanese release for these featured swappable belts and neck pieces to depict their parody versions seen in Akiba Ranger. Ryu Ranger would follow soon after in August of 2012 to kick off yet another team, and well over a year later after Boken Red was released, Bandai would go ahead and add Boken Black and Blue to the release list, this time releasing them in a 2-pack, something that would become much more common later in the line as a means of getting teams out quicker. In September, Hurricane Red was added, continuing the pattern of all of the Season 2 Akiba Ranger cameos. Same with Kiba Ranger, also known as MMPR White, as a Tamashii Web release. Akiba Ranger would start to wind down, as FIguarts shifted their focus to the current team with Kyoryu Red. Terra Ranger was the next Zyuranger to release, Tamashii Web of course, and Cho Akiba Red Super would round out the Akiba Ranger releases, as he was a simple repaint of Super Akiba Red seen in the finale of their series. November and December would each have 1 release each, both being Tamashii Web. Armed Tyranno Ranger in November, and the next 2-pack release being for the Go Raigers, Kuwaga Raiger and Kabuto Raiger specifically from Hurricaneger in December. Hurricane Blue and Yellow kicked off the year in January, pairing well with their Go Raiger set from the month prior, and while the 5 main Hurricanegers were now complete, Shurikenger would never see a release. 2-packs continued with Kyoryu Blue and Green in February, and the standalone Mammoth Ranger released that month as well. March was just Kyoryu Gold by himself, with the Core 6 Kyoryugers now being completed the following month, with yet another 2-pack, this time for Black and Pink. After being staggered over the last couple of months, it was now time to complete the Zyuranger team, as Tricera Ranger and Tiger Ranger were released next on the list in May and in June. Finally, in September 2014, after taking most of the summer off, not only was the first retail figure released for the year, but the start of another team. This time being Aka Ranger from Go Ranger. It was time for the very first Red Ranger in Sentai to make an appearance, and Bandai must have been feeling the nostalgia, as Vol Eagle would kick off Sun Vulcan later on in December. The only other release for the year was the FIguarts Zero of Dragon Ranger. Just a statue standing on a rock pedestal with green detailing, but still cool nonetheless. And just like that, Sentai Figuarts entered its final year and final release in June of 2015 with the 2-pack of Vol Shark and Vol Panther, completing Sun Vulcan as the door closed on future Sentai Figuarts for nearly 7 years. Despite the limited time the line existed for, plans were shown off for a number of figures that never saw the light of day, many that would have completed teams already started or built on series that are already covered. So let's go to talk about all of those. A number of these never-released Sentai Figuarts come from one showcase in particular, this being Tamashii Features Volume 3 held in 2012. While a good amount of these figures here actually did get released, such as Aka Ranger, many of them did not, including Baseball Mask, one of the most iconic monsters from Go Ranger, who would have been the first Monster of the Week released. The swap modes of the 5 Deca Rangers were shown off in an awesome display that was never meant to be. Another unreleased figure from the Deca Ranger line was the Murphy K9 dog, shown only in a catalog ad for Deca Yellow and Pink. This Tamashii event had even more unreleased figures to offer as well, such as Boken Pink, Yellow, and even Silver, which would have completed the team that they only ever did half of. Even a new series was shown off here, with Ryo and Melee from Gekki Ranger, who could have been a perfect 2-pack release of these fan-favorite characters. Of course, this wasn't it though. At another event after Aka Ranger had been released, the rest of the Go Rangers were shown off but never happened. Akiba Rangers Malushina and Ale were planned at one point, along with anime likeness heads for the main characters of the series. Speaking of Akiba Ranger, the series itself showed unreleased Figuarts in the premiere of Season 2, when the team is aided by the Sentai Team Legends. However, they appear in a Figuarts form and not actual suits. This whole show really was an advertisement for Sentai Figuarts, wasn't it? Namely the Jetman, which if you remember, only Red Hawk and Black Condor got released, but the other 3 members of the team were shown off in this sequence, never to see the light of day. Going all the way back to the beginning with the team that started it all, Shinkenger had a number of figures unreleased as well. Bandai really was going to get the most out of the Super Jacket mold that they had released prior, as there were plans for both the Gedo Shinken Red seen in Goseiger vs Shinkenger, as well as the whole team including Gold, also seen in this movie, but none would ever happen beyond the regular Super and Hyper Red. Figuarts Zero wasn't even immune to this, as in a similar style to the Dragon Ranger one, a Tyranno Ranger release was also planned. Speaking of Tyranno Ranger, Sentai Figuarts were not just popular in Japan. Nearly every release that had a Power Rangers counterpart saw a release over in America as well, with minor differences.
you, baby. So I stand up and speak just my mind. Oh. Chilling in the rain, you're some kind of butterfly. Baby, you give me midnight. You whip up my appetite.